Today on the news and why it matters, both Obamas back in the news on the same day. What do you know? Also, Jeffrey Epstein, he's back in the news as well. Did he actually commit suicide? There's a doctor who reviewed all of his file, his autopsy, who says he doesn't think that happened. Got a lot to get into today. Starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, today joined by conservative commentator Grant Stinchfield. Thanks for being here.
It's good to be back, Sarah.
And Aaron Colin of theblaze.com.
Hello.
Hello, thank you for being here as well. Jason Howerton, social media guru of Blaze Media.
Thanks
for being here, guys. I feel the patriarchy in the room, and it's lovely. I love it. Got a lot to get into, but first we want to thank our sponsor, American Financing. So American Financing is your go-to if you're looking for a new house. Maybe you just want to refi right now because the interest rates are incredible and you want to get it done before they start trickling back up again, which obviously is bound to happen because it always does. American Financing, they don't have commission-based employees who are just looking for the best kickback for them. They're like, what can I put these people in that will give me the greatest commission? That's not what you want. That's not the way to do business, and that's not what American Finance does. They use salary-based professionals who answer all your questions. They really are in it to help you get in the best solution for you and your family. They actually came to Glenn before the 2008 crisis, and they said, we really want to do business with you. And Glenn said, I don't do business with any of you financial companies. I think you're all terrible. Whatever, come back to me after the crash. Well, they did, and they said, we're still great. We're still doing really well because we do things the right way. You got to go to AmericanFinancing.net if you're looking for any sort of loan. They can take care of you. AmericanFinancing.net or call 800-906-2440. You know, if you use those cell phones for what their original purpose was, which I think none of us do. So AmericanFinancing.net. So Barack Obama was at the Obama Foundation Summit in Chicago. Really glad that they have one of those too, by the way. We really do. I mean,
I wish I was there.
Do you? So he was speaking to the audience in Chicago, and shockingly, he came out against this woke cancel culture. He derided, the cancel culture on social media and also on college campuses pretty firmly. Here's what he had to say.
You know, this idea of purity and you're never compromised and you're always politically woke and all that stuff, you should get over that quickly. The world is messy. There are ambiguities. Yep. People who do really good stuff have flaws. Right. People who you are fighting may love their kids. And, share certain things with you. And I think that one danger I see among young people, particularly on college campuses, Malia and I talk about this. Yara goes to school with my daughter. But I do get a sense sometimes now among certain young people, and this is accelerated by social media, there is this sense sometimes of the way of me making change is to be as judgmental as possible about other people. And that's enough.
Amen.
I mean, amen, but I'm shocked that just came from a member of the Democratic Party.
He actually has been very consistent on this issue as a politician, surprisingly enough.
I've heard him say some pretty nasty things about Donald Trump.
This is the man that literally divided this country by using this whole culture war to divide this country. I wish he would have talked like that when he was president of the United States. I've never heard him, Jason.
I've heard him on the cancel culture stuff. I've heard him be pretty consistent. But real quick,
you're saying after he left office.
Even some towards the end. I would say it's more towards the end and when he was done with office, which you can understand given the way his party has gone. But I want to point one thing out about what's happening here. So what I say is there's two battles going on for the country right now. There's the traditional conservative versus left versus right. I want my guns. You want to take my guns. I don't like abortion. You like abortion. There's a second battle going on too, which is for the general sanity of just the human being, like just basic decency and sanity. And to me, this proves we're winning the battle for sanity against this crazy outrage, cancel culture. You have Obama, you have Ellen, you have all these people who are on the on the far left of where I am and where other people are, and we're all on the same page. To me, that says that battle is being lost by that woke culture, and it's really awesome. I'm much more concerned with that battle right now than the political battle that's been going on and is going to continue to be going on. So thank God for Obama saying that. I think he deserves the credit, even if he is not president anymore. He doesn't have elections to worry about, because I think this is the most toxic part of our politics right now is the desire to destroy people and just because they disagree with you. So kudos to Obama.
Grant, are you as optimistic about America's sanity?
Look, I give him credit for coming out and saying this. I use hypocrisy to describe the left all the time, though. Him coming out now troubles me because of his history of division and not trying to be a unifier. To me, that sounds like a unifier to bring people together. I think that the left, liberalism basically gives people innocence. If you're a liberal, then you have innocence and you can't be a racist. But if you're a conservative, well, then you can be a racist. And so what the liberals do is they play to this whole idea of innocence, and that goes to the whole culture war of the woke mentality and everybody is against you and the victimization. Liberalism plays to victimization. That's their whole motto. So I wish he did this before he basically founded the woke culture. And he comes out now, I guess better late than never.
Yeah.
I wish it was earlier.
Yeah. Aaron?
What you see from him is that politics has kind of turned on him. In 2018, the people he campaigned for lost. You see the 2020 candidates, they're looking at him like the things he did were not liberal enough, were not far left enough. So maybe he's looking at it like he's now reflecting from a non-political standpoint and really looking at it from maybe a father's standpoint, looking at his daughter in college and what she's doing and what her classmates are doing, and just stepping back from politics and just being real about it. And that's what you want him to do. That's what you would want him to do when he was president, and that's what we want future politicians to do.
Not to mention, look what happened to his daughter in college. I mean, you had conservatives and others taking private photos of her and going off on that. She's a kid in school, trying to cancel her, right? Like because she's Obama's kid. I'm sure that had an impact on him as well.
I think it would work better if there was more of an acknowledgement, like you're talking about, from him about the role that he may have played in building this up. And so when you hear him say the right things, when you hear somebody who's made mistakes say the right things, you don't want them to skip over what they did to get us here. And so maybe that might be what you're talking about. That you're looking
maybe
for.
You can help me, because have I become so jaded, and maybe I have, I've been doing this a long time, that there's a part of me that I want to give him the credit here. But is he doing this because he knows exactly what you said, Jason, that they're losing? And that if he comes out and he says this, that maybe he can diminish this loss that they are being served up right now by us, that people are starting to wake up to all of this nonsense? And is this just another political game to try to minimize the damage?
And this is where we might disagree big time, but I am willing to lose this upcoming election if it means people like Obama bringing the left back to reality and to sanity. I will.
Someone that I trusted more than Obama, right? Like
Well,
I don't trust that his intentions are pure.
Sure.
Therefore, I don't know that I'm willing to
Even if
put everything on the
they're
line.
impure, though, if it gets us back to the place that we need to be, where we can continue to have this political battle, it's that bad to me. I think
The destruction of this country, if we lose this election, will be too great. The only place they're going to bring you back to is Disneyland, if you think that's going to happen. And I love that you think it could happen. And we need to have that passion and hope for the future, but that's not going to happen. Once they win, they're going to do everything they can to divide again.
So we've got half glass full, glass half full, glass half empty.
I hate
here.
being described that way. It's just reality.
Yeah. So, I mentioned both Obamas were in the news again. So Michelle Obama, of course, was speaking at the same summit, the Obama Foundation Summit. Yay! So glad that they have that. And she made some interesting comments about sort of playing into what you were discussing, Grant, about, the divide that they created when Obama was in office, the racial divide especially. Here's what Michelle Obama had to say about white people being afraid of black people.
But unbeknownst to us, we grew up in the period, as I write, called white flight. Yeah. That is families like ours, upstanding families like ours, you know, who were doing everything we were supposed to do and better. As we moved in, white folks moved out because they were afraid of what our families represented. And I always stop there when I talk about this out in the world because, you know, I want to remind white folks that y'all were running from us, you know, because
this family,
yeah. This family with all the values that you read about,
yeah,
you were running from us, and you're still running because we're no different than the immigrant families that are moving in, the families in Pilsen, the families that are coming from other places to try to do better. But because we can so easily wash over who we really were because of the color of our skin, because of the texture of our hair, you know, that's what divides countries.
Interesting comments from, you know, you go from Obama, who's trying to give a unifying message, and then you go to his wife, who immediately says people moved out of their neighborhood because of their skin color. I would love to know what kind of evidence she has to back that up.
Does anyone think that maybe people were moving out of the inner cities, and in Dallas, for instance, white people moved north into the suburbs? But now there's an interesting phenomenon, and Dallas is a big city, I'm sure it's happening in other cities. You know, black people in Dallas are moving out. They're moving south of the city, but they're moving to the suburbs too. And I think there is a rush to get to where you want better schools, inner city life isn't for you, there's high crime, and people are just leaving. But what she does here is lay this whole idea of white guilt. So she's trying to make white people feel guilty about all of this. I don't think the left cares about black people or any other people of color. This whole notion of white guilt and every program designed to prop up minorities is about making white people feel better somehow about themselves. And it's not about caring for the people that may need help. And she does that again. So she goes down the road of division and trying to make white people feel bad.
Aaron, don't let us white-splain this to you.
I know that you guys are scared of me. No. But I think it's important to separate the point that she's making and what she's talking about in terms of white flight and the evidence that that did exist at a certain time. And from the other point that she's making where she says something like, y'all are running from us and things like that. Those are two things that so she's conflating two things, and one of those things where you say, yes, y'all, white people are still running from us, that's a divisive statement. But you don't want that to undermine the idea that we still have to look at the way that races move and the way that they might divide and evaluate that in a real way, because there is still evidence that even though black people are moving to suburbs, there is division where black people are moving with black people, white people are moving in white neighborhoods. And we do need to look at the reasons for that segregation. Some of it is voluntary, some of it might be racism one way or the other. But we don't want to conflate it with the divisive language and saying, y'all are running from us and things like that.
It's very us versus y'all, right? It's us versus y'all.
So she undermines her own point, I think, and the goal that you would think that she has in terms of unifying by saying it that way.
Yeah, and I've always said it's not us versus y'all, it's all of us versus the idiot racists who still exist. Like, they still exist, of course, but it's not y'all.
Blanket statements are
I love
bad.
that we're in Texas, so every time Jason is mentioning plural, he just says y'all.
Of course I say y'all, but she's always been the radical of the marriage. I've always believed this, that she has always been the little far left radical voice in Obama's ear, just nudging him that way. I personally, I disagree with a lot Obama did. I like him personally as a man. I think he's a good dad. I think just as a person, I like him. I don't like him as a politician.
Dude, I think this guy tried to destroy America.
And a lot of people will agree with you. I personally don't. I think he's a far leftist who has some really bad ideas, but thought he was doing what was right, but it wasn't. That's just how I think he's a good dad. So there's two different things. But Michelle Obama is a different story. I think she is the radical that kind of pushed him on a lot of these issues. And you hear her talk like this to this day, even after white people were the ones who put her husband in office. Like, that's just the bottom line. Like, white people in America, along with a lot of black voters and everything else, put Obama in office because America is not an inherently racist nation. It's not. There are racist people who continue to exist, and they suck, and we should all stand against them, and we should not let people like Michelle put us in these camps and make us go at each other's throats.
Aaron, last word.
It's worth saying that some people move with races of their own because that's their comfort zone. So it's not all based on racism. Some of it is. Some of it might be based on the way cities zone themselves or the type of housing they put up. But we don't want to just make a blanket statement about people are doing one thing, this is why they're doing it. Because it's such a more nuanced and complicated issue than you can do in one clip where you just say all white people are doing X, Y, Z, and it just hurts the conversation.
It's much better just to say y'all are running from us. It's much more catchy.
It is. We're talking about
All
it.
y'all.
Yeah.
All y'all.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm disappointed there wasn't any Jerry Springer throwing of chairs or anything between these two. We'll be back in a
Next
minute.
segment.
Yeah.
Still got
Let
time.
me see what I can come up
We
with.
got time.
You guys against each other.
Bible stories.
I don't know, he looks like he's in good shape. I don't know how.
Before we get back into the conversation, we want to thank our sponsor, realestateagentsitrust.com. So I know we talk about this all the time. I'm not sure if all of you have heard, but I actually had the experience of using realestateagentsitrust.com. My husband and we're looking for a new house. And we're trying to move out of the black neighborhoods because we don't like black people. I'm just kidding. You got to watch the first segment to get that joke, okay? Don't send me hate
We're
mail.
gonna clip that.
It's going to be all over.
So, but we're looking to move, the housing market's good, the interest rates are good, and it really was exactly as they advertise it to be. We had a real estate agent call us. We sent the little form. We sent it after hours. He called us at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock that night, he was calling us because they are working all the time. These are the top people in your area. They are going to get you the best deal for you and your family. So if you are looking to buy or sell, you got to go to realestateagentsitrust.com. It'll take you 5 minutes to just fill out the little form. You put in your zip code, and you have that top real estate agent in your area contact you. realestateagentsitrust.com. So Jeffrey Epstein. I want to hit this really quickly. I just want your thoughts on this because I do like to sometimes stir the pot of the conspiracy theories. We like to do that here at Blaze Media every once in a while. Jeffrey Epstein, that story kind of died. No pun intended. We never really got answers on what exactly happened, how they allowed it to happen. There were weird logs, or missing logs going on. There were some sketchy stories.
Guards fell asleep. Very normal.
Two of them.
Very normal.
Everything ended up happening just in line so that this could happen. Now there is a famed pathologist, Dr. Michael Baden, who actually was the former chief medical examiner for New York City, who was hired by Epstein's family to observe his autopsy. And he actually says he does not believe that Epstein died by suicide. He said that he has, there's evidence that it was not consistent with suicide by hanging, but the official cause of death was suicide by hanging. He thinks it was homicidal strangulation because of the way that his body was marked up and the injuries that he had.
I think the first thing, real quick, before we get into anything, we have to point out that the medical examiner's office is saying that they reject these findings. So it's important that we say that.
Well, that's why I said he was observing the autopsy.
Correct, correct. He's just observing the autopsy. So let's be upfront about that.
I was, but thank you.
I thought you were.
Thank you.
The second thing is, I think wanting this more investigated because of all the things that you just said is not outrageous. It's not beyond reasonable people to say, what the hell happened here, right?
Well, it's funny because whenever this actually happened, I felt like that was the one time in probably 5 years that I heard the left and the right kind of unite and say, okay, guys, there's no way this happened the way they said it did. There's no way.
I mean, you think this is going back to review for people that don't remember the story. Jeffrey Epstein, the millionaire, billionaire, whatever, child molester, that ran with very, very important people.
You can't overstate that. Very important, powerful
Typically,
people.
very important, powerful people on the left, too. He is now arrested and in jail, and who knows who he's going to flip on. You've got 2 security guards at the same time fall asleep. You've got 2 security cameras that don't work right before this happens. You've got his roommate that is removed from his cell before he's murdered. Cellmate, I guess you can call him a roommate. He's not in college. and then Jeffrey Epstein dies. Now, I said it on this program a long time ago. I think he was murdered. I don't think it was suicide. Nothing. If it walks and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you honestly have to suspend disbelief a little bit to just believe, oh, it was just a regular suicide, it happened. So many things had to happen in place. You're not being a conspiracy theorist to say, well, unless you give me a better explanation, I would have to assume there's foul play here. And so I hope that we can keep up with this. You know, there's so much else going on, so many distractions, and I think that's why the story kind of died off. But I hope that the results of these so-called investigations
it's possible,
do come out.
like it's possible he committed suicide, but if you
possible.
put it on a spectrum of what is more likely, it seems like you're kind of leaning. When you're talking about people who run the world, right? Like they make the world run. You think they couldn't get a guy killed? Like, come on.
Well, but he also said, just to kind of add to this conversation, he said hanging, so if he hung himself, does not cause the broken bones that Jeffrey Epstein had. Homicide does. He also said that forensic analysts collected DNA from under his fingernails to determine whether another person was present and maybe he fought back. He says that the results from the test have not been released, even though that type of test only takes like mere days to complete definitive analysis.
So add one more piece of evidence as to something fishy's going on.
Right?
Why haven't they been released? Who's pulling the strings saying don't release whatever DNA was
I know
under
how
his
we get
fingernails?
answers.
Call Alex Jones.
We plant a story, we become anonymous sources for the New York Times, and we say we have information tying Trump to it. Then they'll be interested in figuring it out.
Don't you remember there was like a picture of Trump
Yes.
with that?
Yeah.
Like he met him like they both run in Palm Beach, and they did everything they could do to tie him.
Together.
Meanwhile,
Forget Bill Clinton and his 39 flights with him.
Exactly.
No, we don't want to talk
I
about
just
that.
want to say for the record, I don't think Hillary Clinton had anything to do with it. So just for the record, Hillary, wherever
You're
you
a
are.
smart man. You're a
Barack
smart man.
Obama, I have not ruled him out yet.
Before we go, I want to start this story really quickly. We'll probably have to finish it in overtime, but want to get your thoughts on the latest trend of drag queen storytime hour that's going on. It started in the UK. It's now come over to the United States. The latest one was in Minnesota, and there was a drag queen that was wearing a miniskirt who apparently didn't think to wear any underwear, and it's a transgender woman, obviously, exposed his crotch to a bunch of preschoolers, elementary schoolers, toddlers, infants, while reading a story. Grant, how is this happening in this country in 2019?
I think for the first time you've left me absolutely speechless. Do you see that picture? So he obviously knows what he's doing. He 100% knows what he's doing.
This
So
was oops.
who is the administrator or teacher behind this stupid idea that you're going to bring Bozo the clown in to read to your kids?
The bigger question is, where are the fathers, and why is somebody not grabbing this douche by the neck and throwing him out of the classroom? I can't imagine as a dad, first of all, if I was there, my son wouldn't be anywhere near
Who are the
this.
parents who are taking their kids to drag queen storytime hour?
So I guess that answers the question why there's no parents grabbing them by the neck.
They say they want this to be for LGBT equality and to get people. How would that help their cause? You know, how does that help people be more accepting of LGBT people when you put that as the example in front of children and you dress them up like that and sexualize it like that? I don't see who that helps in terms of their cause.
They got what they asked for here. They invited that guy to come in and speak to their kids. They got exactly what any reasonable person would have expected they were going to get.
And the more they defend it, the more votes they give to Trump. That's the bottom line.
All right, all great points. We'll be back in a minute.
Man alive.
Jason would vote for Obama if he could.
Before we head into overtime, don't forget you do not want to miss Glenn's special tonight. He's got another chalkboard coming up for you, and it is going to blow your mind. It's called Democracy Does Die in the Darkness. Funny how that works out. You can save $20 off of a subscription to BlazeTV if you use code GB20OFF. I highly recommend that you go to BlazeTV, get a subscription, go back and watch the previous chalkboard that he did, the first one, just so that you can have it all in your mind, remembering exactly what happened, all of the corruption that happened, and then go watch what he has to say. Jason, you're going to be covering the social media aspect of it?
All night long.
Is there going to be any alcohol involved?
Pizza, I haven't heard about the alcohol yet, but there should be.
Oh, well, I was going to say I'll come along for the ride, but if there's no alcohol, I'm out. All right, so you guys make sure not to miss it. It's 8 Eastern, 7 Central, blazetv.com. Overtime starts next.